What's up, y'all? So last year I put out my first edge retention testing video, and I put Magnacut against 14C28N. So the Magnacut is with this Kershaw Bel-air, and the 14C is with this Vosteed Porcupine. So back in that test, I would just do some cuts on some cardboard, cut some paper, and just kind of didn't have as much measurement going into it, and kind of just wanted to see how each of them performed. And I just want to kind of revisit that now that I'm more aware of things like thickness behind the edge angle, and can actually put some numbers to it with the BESS tester. So let's talk about the geometry of these, because these do vary, but only slightly. So the Kershaw Bel-air does have a 19.5 degree edge angle, which per side. So that is 1 degree less per side than the 14C28N. So it does have an advantage there, and it does go down to 17 thousandths behind the edge. Now the 14C28N is 14 thousandths behind the edge, and that is getting into the territory where that low level of thickness can really start to make a difference. Now, of course, this is 1 degree more per side, 20.5 degrees per side, and the Magnacut is 19.5 degrees per side. So we'll see if that 1 degree can really make that much of a difference. But really, we can look at the properties of the steel as well. So we have 14C28N has a 9 out of 10 on toughness, but a 3 out of 10 in wear resistance, while Magnacut has a 7 out of 10 in toughness, but a 5 out of 10 in wear resistance. So the Magnacut has 2 more points of wear resistance, but the 14C has 2 more points in toughness. So let's see how those play out. And I'm going to use the standard method of testing that I have been lately. I'm going to do more measured cuts, 150 through cardboard each, 50 cuts through rope, and going to see how those stack up before and after. So let's go ahead and we can look at some initial sharpness. So we can see that these can both cut through this magazine paper very easily. And we'll go ahead and do some cuts on the BESS tester. Now these, of course, can both shave very easily as well, not leaving any hairs behind, just fully popping those hairs off. And we'll see with the Magnacut as well. Very nice. All right, so let's go ahead and get some tests on the BESS tester. So we will start with the Magnacut. And now for the 14C. All right, so we are pretty close in initial sharpness for both of these. The Magnacut and 14C both averaged around 141, 142. So that's a really good starting point for these. Let's go take these out, cut up some cardboard and rope, and we'll come back and do some more testing. All right, so that 14C lost its bite pretty quickly. There was a noticeable difference pretty quickly cutting through that cardboard. I know the 14C on the Vosteed Porcupine is a little thinner behind the edge, but the blade stock on the Bel-air is thinner overall. Let's see how much thinner. All right, so we've got 3 millimeters on the Porcupine and 2.14 on the Bel-air. Interesting. That definitely made for a better feeling performance, or just the 14C lost its bite and edge that quickly just with the cardboard, where by the time I got to the rope, the Magnacut was cutting noticeably better by that time. But let's put some numbers to it, see how they measure up. Let's try to cut some paper, see how Magnacut does. All right, so it is cutting not as cleanly as it was before. We got still pretty good, usable, working edge on that. Definitely not flying through the way it was. You could kind of hear the difference some. Let's see if we're shaven with the Magnacut. Nope, not shaven at all. None of the knives, ooh, got a couple actually, shaving a little bit. Most of the knives that I test don't really shave after that cardboard and rope. Let's check out the 14C on the Porcupine. Still cutting, but again, significantly rougher. A little bit rougher feeling than the Magnacut. Not all too different though. It's gonna really come down to the numbers on the BESS tester, but either way, both these knives are still cutting and you know, usable after that test very well. Let's see, are we shaven with the 14C? I'd bet we weren't. No, nothing at all. We actually got a couple with the Magnacut. All right, so let's go ahead and put some numbers to it with the BESS tester. So we will start with the Magnacut. Now for the 14C 28N. Right, so the Magnacut, we had an initial sharpness of 141 on average, and after the cardboard and rope, that went up to 214 for an additional 73 grams of weight it took to cut that line on average. For the 14C 28M, we had an initial sharpness of 142. After we cut the rope and cardboard, on average, it went up to 271, or an increase of 129. Almost double the amount of weight increase as the Magnacut. So we see, even though that the 14C 28N is a budget steel on the budget end, I think it still performs great. And it is, you know, I'm interested in seeing how Magnacut compares to more different steels in this test, because as we've seen before, that just wear resistance alone isn't enough to determine the outcome of how these tests go, especially when we're looking at things like geometry, but toughness plays a bigger role than I think we do when it comes to how edges degrade, especially when it comes to if you're knocking like against cutting board or if you're going through some harder material like rope, just how that affects edge retention rather than just wear resistance. I figure we go ahead and see how these strop back as well. We'll just hit them on the strop and see if we can just get them back to shaving sharp. Let's see, I believe, you know, Magnacut is really great, responds well to the strop. I think it can bring back an edge very nicely. I think that'll be it. Just that little bit. I definitely feel like we got a good bit of bite back. Yep, and we are shaving again. Are shaving pretty nicely again. Let's hit on some paper. Let's see. Definitely much cleaner of a cut than we were getting before. None of that dragging or tearing. Very clean cut. Sure, we'll hit on the BESS tester once just to give it a look-see. 158. That's a pretty good improvement from 214. Why don't we take a look at the 14C 28N? Let's give this a quick stropping. All right, let's see how we are cutting paper now. Ooh. Didn't respond quite as well as the Magnacut. Might just need a little extra time. Yeah, it's still pretty rough. I think we did a little more damage to the edge than the Magnacut. We probably still can get a little bit of shaving with it. I felt like I got some of its bite back. Yeah, we're shaving a couple now. We're not hitting every single one, but we are getting a little bit of shaving. Let's see. Definitely feel a little bit of rolling or something right there. Let's see. 179. So that's still pretty good. That was still a major improvement from 271. Didn't go right back to where we were, but still definitely a good improvement off of the strop. So again, strop your knives. So this is similar to what I found before. Of course, we know Magnacut's probably going to outperform 14C28N, but I was just happy to be able to actually redo this test and put some numbers to it more so. But definitely Magnacut, the superior steel here, but 14C28N still a solid budget option. I don't think that's news to anybody, but I still hope you found these results interesting. Thank you for watching.